I worked night security at a self-storage facility for about 8 months. It was one of those jobs you take when you need the money and don't mind being alone. The pay was decent, the work was easy. All I had to do was patrol the rows of units every couple hours, check the locks, and make sure nobody was trying to break in. Sterling Storage sat on the edge of town, right where the streetlights stopped and the woods began. 4 long rows of orange metal units, each one about 10 feet wide. During the day, the place was busy. People coming and going, loading furniture, boxes, whatever they needed to store. But at night, after the main gate closed at 9 p.m., it was just me and about 200 locked doors. I'm not someone who scares easily. I'd worked overnight shifts before. Gas stations, warehouses. You get used to the quiet. The darkness doesn't bother you after a while. But there was something about Sterling Storage that felt different from the start. My first week was uneventful. I'd show up at 10 p.m., check in with Gary, the guy who worked the evening shift, and then settle into the small office by the front gate. The office had a space heater, a desk, a couple of monitors showing the security camera feeds, and a coffee maker that looked older than me. The routine was simple. Every 2 hours, I'd grab my flashlight and walk the rows. Row A, then B, then C, then D. Check for any damage, any signs of tampering, anything out of place. Then back to the office. Watch the monitors, read, browse my phone. Wait for 6 a.m. when the day shift supervisor would arrive. The units themselves were pretty standard. Roll-up metal doors, combination locks or padlocks, concrete floors. Some people put expensive locks on theirs. Others just used cheap ones from the hardware store. You could tell which units held valuable stuff and which ones were just full of old furniture and Christmas decorations. Around my 3rd week, I started noticing Unit 47. It wasn't anything dramatic. I was doing my midnight patrol, walking down row B with my flashlight, checking the locks like always. When I got to Unit 47, I stopped. The door was closed. The lock was in place. Everything looked normal. But I had this weird feeling that someone was standing on the other side of the door. Just standing there, waiting. I stood there for maybe 10 seconds, shining my light on the door, listening. Nothing, no sound, no movement, just that feeling. I shook it off and kept walking. The next night, same thing. I got to Unit 47, and that feeling hit me again. Stronger this time, like someone was pressed right up against the other side of that metal door, holding their breath. I actually knocked. I don't know why. It was stupid. Nobody was supposed to be in the units overnight. That was literally the main rule. No response. I finished my patrol and went back to the office. I started paying attention to Unit 47 after that. I checked the rental records one night when I was bored. It was rented to someone named J. Holloway, paid through the end of the year. No phone number on file, just an email address. The unit had been rented for 11 months. During my patrols, I'd stop at Unit 47 every time. The feeling never went away. It was always there, that sensation of someone on the other side. Sometimes I'd put my hand on the door, and I swear I could feel a coldness coming through the metal, even though it was summer and the doors would heat up during the day. I mentioned it to Gary one evening when he was getting ready to leave. Unit 47? He said. Yeah, that one's weird. Weird how? He shrugged. I don't know, just weird. Nobody's ever there during the day. I've never seen anyone go in or out. But the rent gets paid on time every month, so... He trailed off. You feel it too? Feel what? Like someone's in there? I nodded. Gary looked at me for a moment, then grabbed his keys. Just leave it alone, man. Not worth thinking about. About a month later, I was doing my 2 a.m. patrol. It was mid-July, hot and humid even at night. I had my flashlight, but I barely needed it. The floodlights around the facility gave off enough light to see pretty well. I was walking down row B when I heard it, a scraping sound, metal on concrete, coming from somewhere ahead of me. I stopped walking, listened. The sound continued, slow, deliberate. Scrape, scrape, scrape. I moved forward carefully, trying to pinpoint where it was coming from. The sound got louder as I got closer to the middle of the row. Unit 47. I stopped in front of it. The scraping was definitely coming from inside. It sounded like something being dragged across the floor. Something heavy. I pulled out my phone, ready to call the police. This was it. Someone had broken in. I was supposed to call immediately if I found evidence of a break-in. But the lock was still in place, undamaged, closed. Nobody had broken in. The scraping stopped. I stood there in the silence, my heart pounding. Then, slowly, I heard something else. Breathing, slow, ragged breathing, coming from inside the unit. I backed away. I went back to the office and watched the camera feed for row B for the rest of my shift. On the monitor, Unit 47 looked completely normal. Just a closed door. Nothing moving, no one around. But I could still hear that breathing in my head. I should have quit. I know that now. But I needed the job, and part of me kept thinking there had to be a rational explanation. Maybe the sound was carrying from somewhere else. Maybe it was an animal that had gotten into one of the units somehow. Maybe I was just tired and stressed. 2 weeks later, I was doing my 4 a.m. patrol. Last one before dawn. I was walking down row B, and as I approached Unit 47, I saw something that made me stop dead. The door was open, just a crack, maybe 6 inches. The lock was still hanging on the latch, but the door had been rolled up slightly. I'd walked past this unit 4 hours earlier. The door had been closed. I was certain. I should have called the police. Instead, I stepped closer. I shined my flashlight through the gap. The unit was empty, completely empty. No boxes, no furniture, nothing. Just bare concrete walls and floor. Except for the smell. This thick, metallic smell. Like old pennies, like blood. And in the very back corner, barely visible in the flashlight beam, I saw something on the floor. Dark stains. Spread out in a pattern that looked almost deliberate. I heard the breathing again. Right behind me this time. I spun around. Nobody there. Just the empty pathway between the rows. But the breathing continued. Close. So close I should have been able to see who was making the sound. I ran. I didn't walk. I ran back to the office, locked the door, and sat there until the sun came up. When the supervisor arrived at 6, I told her I needed to talk to her about Unit 47. She looked at me with this expression I couldn't quite read. Not surprised, more like resigned. "Did you open it?" she asked. "No, it was already open." She nodded slowly. "It does that sometimes." I quit the next day. I didn't give 2 weeks' notice. I just told them I couldn't do it anymore and left. A few months later, I looked up Sterling Storage online. I found an old news article from about 15 years ago. A man named James Holloway had been arrested for keeping someone locked in a storage unit, Unit 47, for 3 days before someone heard them screaming. The victim survived, but Holloway went to prison. He died in prison 8 years ago. I don't know who's been paying the rent on that unit. I don't know what I heard or felt during those nights. I know I'll never work overnight security again. Some places hold on to things. Some doors are locked for a reason, and some of them don't stay closed.